Warning: the following program contains explicit content, outrageous opinions, and untrained professionals. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft with your hosts, Berzerker and Navox. This is Unshackled Fury.
Against all odds, BlizzConline came rolling through town, and now we're here to sort through what in the hell actually happened. Welcome to episode 85 of the Unshackled Fury podcast, your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. I'm your host, Berzerker, and with me, as always, is the Blackthorn to my rock and roll racing. He is Navox. Welcome back again, sir.
Yeah, that was awesome. I wasn't expecting to get that the collection, the arcade collection, and then they played that the Deep Purple Highway Star, a 16-bit, and in all of its 16-bit glory, and I was like, I love it. So I had rock and roll racing for the SNES, so it was awesome.
There's been whispers about this for years. Like, what are they going to do with the back catalog? Because there was, the characters in Heroes of the Storm. You've had the Lost Vikings around. There's references to these games in other places, but they've never fully brought them back in a way that you're like, yes, I can actually play them on my PC or do whatever it is. But there it was, right out of the chute.
Yep.
So
honestly, they, and they could take their current list, like you said, they could take their current list of characters and do anything with them at this point. We talked about it like maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago where I was like, I'd love to see a racing game come. Well, we got the racing game, Rock and Roll Racing. It's like
first-person shooters, Blackthorn.
There it is, and then take the Heroes of the Storm, which isn't being developed for, and turn that into something else. I don't know.
There you go.
Shit.
So welcome to our BlizzConline 2020 review show. This is in lieu of us doing a streaming immediate reaction show like we did for BlizzCon 2019. Consider this our sort of day after live podcast. We're just gonna be shooting the shit here, going through some of the stuff that happened. It's gonna be perhaps a little haphazard. Maybe you won't notice the difference. I don't know. But we're just gonna be kind of rolling through what we saw and what we thought about all of the crazy announcements, some of the other panels that we may have paid more or less attention to, depending on what was going on. But we did get BlizzCon, finally. And there was a little bit of, spoilery stuff that happened on Blizzard's own part ahead of time, which kind of sucked.
I missed a lot of that. Thank God I missed a lot of it.
So on that note, I want to thank friend of the show, Slick Rock, who messaged me and was basically like, bro, don't go on Twitter, don't go anywhere, shit's loose in the wild now. And to make a long story short, apparently what happened is that somebody at Blizzard uploaded the press kit early. Now, for those that don't know what a press kit is, and anybody can look at this. You don't have to be like a member of the media or some F-rate podcast to get this kind of stuff. On the Blizzard website, there is a press website where all of the screenshots you see and the videos and all the stuff that you see on the press websites, what all comes from a certain place, and that's on this one website that Blizzard hosts. And you can go back and look at old BlizzCon stuff, all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, typically that doesn't come out until after things get announced, and somebody either hit publish instead of save, or they hit the wrong date or whatever it was. And all of that stuff for BlizzCon came out early. Now, some people had the good sense to go, ooh, this stuff is out early. Be careful out there. If you're Wowhead, you're going to put it in the title of an article and put it out there on the front page. And God damn, I swear to Christ. Listen, Wowhead does a lot of really good things for the community. And they do a great job of corralling all of the news in our crazy little corner of the world. And I have talked about this at length. But please, dear God, can we just put stuff behind the link? Just put stuff behind the cut. So it doesn't say, oh, TBC Classic confirmed. Like, oh, come on. Come on. Like, we might have known, but we don't have to know. No. Anyway, that did come out early. But for a lot of us, thanks to friends that care deeply about us, or at least care enough to let us know it was out there to be seen, did have some pretty good surprises coming. We're going to talk a lot about that. But straight out of the opening, we had J. Allen Brack coming out, and everything was just pre-recorded. So there wasn't a chance that anybody's going to flub anything, which is nice. But we had a very concerted effort to focus on community right out of the gate. This isn't about the games per se. This is about the community. For those of us who have been to a BlizzCon, who have been fortunate enough to have seen this in person, there truly is nothing like that experience of being with that many people who care about the thing that you do as much, if not more, than you do. It's wild. I don't know of any other experience I've ever had that's quite like it, where you think about things that you really love about Warcraft, whether it's characters or the music or things that draw you in, and you feel just like that really warm, gooey groove in your brain just getting hit, and then sharing that with like 20,000 other people. It's crazy. So that was great. And you and I think, picked up on it at the same time. I think we heard a friend in there. In that little intro.
That's right. Yes. At the opening. That's right. Yeah.
We heard our good friend Frasley. Frasley was in there. So I think Fraz is now an official confirmed voice of the community. So that's nice to take the bag. Good for her. I think Dez was also in there. Former guest of the show. Dez, I think Dez was also in there. But they did a good job of plugging, 30th anniversary, and we love the community, and we're going to try to work on toxicity. Good luck. I don't know. I jumped into an Overwatch game recently just for shits and giggles, and immediately it's just like, what the fuck are people doing here? I'm like, no. Well, that was my one game for the year. See ya.
Well, yeah, and good luck with that going in the future, because they talked about having that technology span across the other games, similar to how Xbox Live does their feedback system and how Overwatch does theirs. We're going to put that in WoW too. So
it's tough. It's tough. There's no doubt. But right out of the gate, we had this intro from J. Allen Brack. They introduced the arcade that we talked about, bringing back the classic games of old in the Blizzard Arcade Collection: Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and Blackthorn. If you purchased one of the anniversary bundles that we talked about on the last show, this is included now. This was like a surprise inclusion.
Yeah.
And so it did finally prompt me to buy one. I did buy the mid-grade one.
Yep.
Because I was like, well, is the extra $20 worth it? It still wasn't worth it. You can still upgrade if you want. So maybe if they tack something on, or one of the things that you see later, you're like, oh, I gotta really have that Diablo, transmog. Okay, fine. You can buy it later.
Yeah.
But I've already downloaded it and checked it out myself. Have you done the same? Had a chance to do that?
I have not had a chance to do that yet.
Okay.
It was one of the things I saw it and I was like, oh, cool. It's there in the launcher and I want to play the game. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, wow. So I could have purchased one of these things and I'll just get it for free. So I think that's where I'm at after the fact.
There
So, yeah, but I did look at my Blizzard friends list and a lot of people were playing those games already. So it's real interesting.
It's amazing to see the resurgence that side scrollers and kind of the old school vibe on games has had in recent years. I really appreciate it. It's nice to know it hasn't been left to the dustbin of history.
I mean, that's the thing. People want to play these old games. Like,
yeah.
You know, the extent of stuff we'll try to do at home with our, you know, gamers do. Like, for me at least, I've got a Raspberry Pi, and I try to download. Acquire by means. I'm not going to dance around it. I try to get all the MAME games and S games, SNES game, all these ROMs. You try to get all this stuff and play it. And you try to play all these old things, relive your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So for Blizzard to just put this back out in a very easy to download format where you can just play it on your computer straight from the launch, it's great. Just,
Yep.
That's right up my alley. I'll pay the $20 to do that,
I am hoping that my controller, because I have, I actually have a controller that's a mock NES controller that I can use for my PC. It's kind of nice for certain games.
Yeah.
There you go. You've got the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo wireless version.
I see that there are controller options in the game, so I need to try it, because I tried doing it real quick with both Blackthorn and the Lost Vikings on my PC, just doing it on the keyboard, and it was super awkward. So, it's that old school console player in me that'll just never die. That I've got to hook up that controller. So, fun to see that. So that was right out of the chute, and then they told us which games to expect stuff for, and then, by virtue of that, so also announcing who's not getting jack shit. So,
yeah.
Warcraft, we were up first. Hearthstone got some updates, and Diablo. Sorry, StarCraft.
Sorry, StarCraft.
Heroes. They didn't even have anything, at least at the top of the show, for Overwatch. Now, Overwatch did have a great panel later, if you wanted to check that out, where they gave some updates, and it really does look like Overwatch 2 has made some really solid progress.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, boy, StarCraft, baby. It's just lost to the wind at this point. But first panel up on the opener, or at least the first sort of segment in the opener for this game specific, was Warcraft. And they announced patch 9.1, Chains of Domination, which is a fabulous name. It's probably not a good sign of anything, but it's a great name. And we got a trailer, an announced trailer, they call it. It's one of those in-game cinematics, Taron Gregory and crew. And we finally got our answer as to what is going on with Anduin after we last saw him and Sylvanas going face to face. And we're gonna do a little bit more of a breakdown and a deep dive of that here in a few minutes. But needless to say, coming out of that, I was like, oh shit, what have they done to my boy?
Yeah, and I wasn't too pleased with that. I was like, okay, well, if he's gonna be a raid boss, I'm okay with that, because I was busting my ass for the Kyrian there, and then he just undid a lot of my work.
We got some shit to do. So they announced that. We'll get into more of the specifics about the 9.1 announcements, but that was first up, and great to hear, as we all had guessed that that's what they were going to announce, and they did. And we also got a little bit more news about 9.0.5. It's the half patch. So there will be some other stuff coming between now and then. And given timelines, I mean, we're probably looking at late spring for 9.1, if I'm just to guess. May-ish would be my guess. We have a charity pet program being announced to support Doctors Without Borders. It's a great program.
That's right.
And we've got the Bananas Pet, and apparently they're trying something new where if we raise enough money, they'll give us a second pet, which is a sloth named Daisy. So if you're in it, go get it. The other big Warcraft announcement, Burning Crusade Classic. We talked about this on the last show. There were hints about it with the Netherwelt pet, and that's kind of how they do a little cheeky reference to stuff. can't say it was, even without being spoiled, can't say it was a huge surprise given the popularity of what's going on. But just immediate hit. Was that hitting you with that dose of nostalgia, or how did you feel just when that came right out of the gate?
You know, I wasn't surprised by it. We kind of knew that was going to get put in next. It's the only logical path for Classic. What I wasn't expecting was how the technology behind it. What they said was, listen, here's the Burning Crusade, and if you want to play the Burning Crusade, you can character copy your character over.
Yes.
So that you can have two separate. So you can have one character that just exists in pure Classic, and now you character copy your character, over to the Burning Crusade. So you really can just exist in both places at the same time. So I like what they're doing with this, because it satisfies that one group that just loves to live in Classic. They love it so much that they were playing on pirate servers, so I don't play it. I love all of the quality of life improvements. I love what the game has become, but more power to them. That's awesome that they did that with the technology, so that you can have your characters in both places and you can have all the fun. Now, Burning Crusade, I had a lot of fun in Burning Crusade. I had a lot of memorable moments in Burning Crusade. Lady Vash was one of the best fights I ever did in Serpentine Cavern, and I think that was the start of actually getting the tank spot boss fight videos that they would put out there on, they would put out there where they would record, and somebody would be like, and this is what you do, and but yeah, the nostalgia trip, it was a lot of fun.
That's what it is. Big nostalgia bomb. And yeah, I've spent 5 minutes in Classic. I just, it's not really something I'm going to be investing a lot of time in right now. I'm sure the same is going to be said with Burning Crusade. But yeah, for me, it's tough to replicate that, because it's also the human factor in it as well, right? Unless you're doing it with the same people and you're in the same kind of space, it's not the same. It just it can't be. And like the first time I ever went into Karazhan for my first raid ever, and I was undergeared. I shouldn't have been in there. I was part of this raid guild at the time that I was brand new to, and they brought me in, and I couldn't get Ventrilo to work, and it was a whole shit show. But it was the first time of being in a raid, and it blew me away, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, we got to do this coordination, and bosses can do this stuff, and there's these abilities we got to worry about. The whole concept just blew me away. That newness doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Right? So it'll be interesting to be a tourist. So we'll go through that. There's a panel about that too, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. After that, we had the Hearthstone announcement, Forged in the Barrens, another expansion, as we guessed might happen. Just continuing to rock and roll. God bless Hearthstone. They're making money hand over fist, and I don't understand what's going on, but apparently it's doing their thing. And Diablo back, no pun intended, back from the dead, where Diablo 3 was heading in the wrong direction. Now Diablo 4 rising up to take the mantle, and they introduced a new class, the Rogue, with a pretty cool, if slightly disturbing cinematic. If you like chopped off ears, this is your spot.
I thought that was straight up. Yeah, I mean, that felt just like Diablo did. That was, back in the day, you collected ears, PvP, you got ears, and that was it. So I mean,
and that, to me, it's almost the fate of Diablo 2, where one BlizzCon comes and goes, and you get a new class, and then another BlizzCon comes and goes, and you get another. I feel like we're 3 classes away from it actually being announced. So,
honest to God, they could have re-released. I mean, and they're going to the Diablo 2 remastered version,
right? And that was one of the other big announcements.
They could have just done that, and it would have. I know everybody wants the another game in the series of Diablo, but you could have just re-released like they're doing right now with the remastered, and I'm buying that, straight up, I'm buying that.
Yeah, and if you go right now, I think you can opt in for their alpha test or beta test or something like that. So they're actively seeking feedback and help on it. So if you're interested in that, go sign up, go help them out, and plus you get to play it. So that's always kind of fun. Excuse me there. But I thought, overall, good opener, right? We had some solid announcements. We had some video and audio of community members, and it was just, people from, and not just your big folks, right? In fact, I don't really think I saw a lot of big streamers. There were a couple of them in there, but for the most part, it really was just legit people from around the community sending in videos and stuff. And I thought that was really, really special. But all of it put together, I don't think measured up to my old metal ass getting super excited about seeing Metallica at the very end, surprise guest playing a corporate gig. Nothing gets me more excited than that.
And
so Metallica, who was the closing act in 2014, which was my first BlizzCon that I actually got to go to, and it was just balls to the wall, unbelievable, and it's one of the best weekends that I've ever had in my entire life, bar none, no question.
Right.
But that was great, although it was apparently marred by some sort of issue on Twitch where there was a copyright snafu, and they started playing some other 8-bit music or some other shit happened.
Yeah, I think what happened was I think it aired normal. I think normally it aired fine, like people heard it live. But then when they went back to replay it, they put their royalty-free music right over top of it instead. So yeah, it was like royalty-free dubstep or something they put over it. It was quite interesting. But you know what? It's funny because we called that too, because I was like, oh, something's gonna happen with that, and Metallica's not gonna be happy with that, and they're gonna. But it wasn't Metallica, it was Twitch, so.
Yeah. So, it's just kind of, there's probably a lot of people that listen to this podcast that don't follow the metal world, but James Hetfield, the lead singer, the guy with the mustache that you saw right at the start, he has had some trials and tribulations, let's say, with sobriety, and a somewhat recent bout of that. So it was nice to see him and the band together playing, and that was good. As a Northern California raised and current resident, it's nice to see one of our greatest flagship bands still doing their thing, even though we are all getting too old and too gray at this point. But nonetheless, happy to see them, and great way to close out that opening ceremony. So with that all said, let's dive into the thing that's really the most important to us. It's Chains of Domination. Patch 9.1 and what they're calling the Kingsmorn cinematic. Now, you and I, when we talked about this previously, with the corruption of the sort of, we'll just call it the Rin family blade. It's almost like the, Skywalker family lightsaber, right? That's basically what Shalamorn has become.
Good analogy.
Speaking
of what we're going to be talking about right now.
Yeah. So this blade has been corrupted. We saw it being wielded by Sylvanas and held up to Anduin when they were, facing off this last time, and Anduin basically saying, do what you got to do. What are you going to do, girl? You're talking about free will, and you're trying to put me in a servitude. Where you at? Where's your values? And we waited to see, okay, well, what's going on? Well, we got our answer. And it came in the form of this the cinematic they showed called Kingsmorn. I'd like to point out that we had started calling it Shalamorn. I have since come to understand that other people have also used this moniker, which I really appreciate. And one of them is Josh Keaton, voice actor for Anduin himself, and he put out a reaction video to this, and if you go to about 250 to 256, 7 or so, when you see Anduin whip out the blade and he goes, "Ooh, Shalamorn." I was like, yes, even Anduin agrees that it should be called Shalamorn, not Kingsborn. So I asked for a clarification on Twitter, and he did confirm that he also called it Shalamorn, at least that first time. So I appreciate the backup there. But it was, I don't know about you, Nav, but I knew pretty much from the start we were in trouble.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And if you go through, if you kind of time it through my Twitter feed, as we were both live tweeting a bunch of this stuff, I was like, oh shit, like, oh no, like this can't be good. You've got the Archon talking to the other Kyrian bigwigs there, and they're like, well, this shouldn't be happening, and things are going bad. And then one of them flies in and says, "Oh, Immortal wants to talk to you. It's one above reproach." This is one of the good ones. And you see Anduin, and like, wait a minute,
yeah,
how did he get here? That can't be right. So that was right away. That was my initial impression. Was he's not supposed to be here. This looks bad. What was your thought?
Yeah, well, pardon me. That was my thought. Was like, first of all, how did he get out? Second of all, why is this one Kyrian going, oh, he's one of the good ones, when I had to bust my ass to like get the reputation up in order to even have an appearance with the Archon? So it was like, so they just let Anduin in, and then Bolvar's all, oh no, something's wrong. Something, I'm getting the weird Spidey sense. Something's not right, So,
you mean Uther?
Uther, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, Uther.
Yeah, my son called that the Uther tinkle. It's kind of like if you've watched one of the recent Spider-Man movies and they called it the Peter tinkle instead of the Spidey sense. And my son goes, "Ooh, that's the Uther tinkle."
But then, I was just like, this is not good. This is just not good. And then he, straight up stabs the Archon and takes the Archon's essence, I think, so to say, and
something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, that stabs the Archon, takes that essence. You don't know if the Archon's actually dead or not.
She's not dead.
Just gravely wounded. And,
yes.
Yes. And then, I mean, I don't know how far. I mean, we can. I don't know how far we want. Well, let's discuss it. We can go on from that point. So he stabs the Archon, and
even before. Let's back it up before that.
Okay.
Though. So before that, he's walking in. He's in his normal regalia, right? You see Anduin.
Yeah.
Totally normal. His regular armor, like, but he sounds. You can tell he sounds different. Like he's stern, direct. It's not the Anduin that we know. More diplomatic,
right.
More aristocratic, even. And he tells the Archon eventually that he's there because she has a key that he needs, and she then the Archon realizes, oh shit, this is not the guy who we think it is. This is the jailer. The jailer has taken over, commandeered this body to sneak in here, wolf in sheep's clothing style. And at that point, Anduin, hands together, manifests. I'm going to keep calling it Shalamorn, Kingsborn, whatever. And he full on does the Arthas above Sindragosa ground stab. Boom, into the ground. And then boom, black, I don't know, energy, smoke, whatever you want to call that, just blasts out from him, blasts all the stuff around him. And then he leaps in the air, Varian against Fellreaver style, and in midair, his armor changes to this very Death Knight, Lich King-esque looking armor, and then whammo, just stabs the Archon right in the chest, stomach area, and you see that essence, that symbol of the Kyrian, whatever that is on her, like draining into the sword, like Frostborn pulling a soul out of a body. momentarily, it seems like Anduin regains control of his own body, because you see him kind of wake up, and the light that's in his eyes kind of diminishes, and he looks, and you see that, like, for a second he has this horrified look on his face of like, holy shit, what did I just do? Yeah. And then all the runes on the armor around him ignite, and once again he succumbs to whatever this power is, this jailer power that's taken over him, and off they go, and then they end up back in the mall, where it's Sylvanas, the jailer, and Anduin's got the blade, and he's kind of like presenting the blade back to the jailer. And what do you make of that little scene? What did we see there? Anything in particular that catch your eye?
Oh, sure. I saw the Sylvanas Darth Vader look at the end of Return of the Jedi. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Return of the Jedi. So at the end of that, after Emperor is trying to kill Luke Skywalker, turn him, Emperor shooting him with electricity, Darth Vader turns to look at the Emperor like, this is not right. And that's the look I got out of Sylvanas. And I was like, okay. So here comes her redemption story. And then not only that, it just spun stuff in my head. I'm like, this is how they're going to bring back characters that we absolutely hated, and they're gonna give them all a redemption. I have a feeling we're gonna get a redemption for Garrosh, and I think it's gonna be in the form of like like Hulk in Avengers when Banner comes out and they're like, we could use a little worse. I think Garrosh is going to be there, and we're probably going to need his help taking down this type of stuff. But anyway, we're talking about Sylvanas, and that's what I got out of that. I got like, Sylvanas was like, I wasn't, and even what was it? Dan User said in the interview, Sylvanas didn't expect this to happen. What? Yes, she absolutely knew what was going on.
Which interview was that?
The Q&A where
the Q&A later.
Around the Q&A later on, he was talking about how Sylvanas was a little bit surprised. She wasn't she didn't understand totally understand what was going on. I'm like, well, she kind of fully understood what was going on with all of this.
I must have missed that when I was.
She's a lady with the plan, so she knew everything going on at the time, but not this. She didn't quite understand what all this entailed. But anyway, well, I digress. Anyway, so I picked up on that little thing, but looking at Anduin's face change, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to not say, "Oh, look, that looks just like Arthas with his face changing too." I mean, anywho,
yeah. You look at the cinematic, and you also look at the art, like going back to the press kit that got released. If you look at the art that was released for this character model, which is not the in-game gamified version, it's like the art, like somebody drew it. You can't tell me that is not wholly reminiscent of Warcraft 3 Arthas. Like it's so close. The hair and the eyes and the vibe and the pale, like the
armor.
The armor.
Yeah.
It is different now. His armor is different. It's kind of hard to explain, and I'll do my best, but before it was the Alliance armor, right? It had, I'm trying to think, on one shoulder or both shoulders he had like the lions, right? The lion faces on either end, and now he's got the big skulls and there's runes everywhere, and it is. I thought we had talked about this before. I thought they were trying to turn him into another Lich King. I don't think they're actually going that far. I think it's just he's another minion.
He's just another minion.
Yeah. Yep. Where they were able to infiltrate, and we. This is a question that we had is why Anduin? Why was he so important? Why was he so necessary to what they're doing? It seems like, at least at this stage of the war, so to speak, it's because his body was able to infiltrate into the Kyrians because of who he was. And they were able to kind of use that as the vessel to get into the place and then wreak havoc. So on the surface, that's kind of the initial blush as to why he was so important. What's interesting about this to me, thinking about Anduin, kind of where he's at, his challenges and everything else, but also his deep held belief in the light, that the light will not abandon him, that the light will save him. Where what happened with Arthas? Did the light abandon Arthas, or did he abandon the light, right? What ultimately was the relationship there? I think Arthas abandoned the light, and that's probably where that went. But Anduin clearly didn't or hasn't. And what this reads to me is a very bold move on Anduin's part, where this is his gambit. This is his. They're using him as a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think he's trying to do the same thing to them. Where ultimately, I think he believes that no matter what they do to him, the light will not abandon him and will still give him enough strength to be able to get out of this. He was able to break free for a moment there. You saw that he's still in there, right? That he didn't like willingly join Sylvanas in the jailer. Like this right. happened to him. And that he's still in there, which, you know, we've heard stories about the Lich King and how entities kind of battled within the helm for control of the entity. That doesn't seem to be happening here. He's you know, not under his own control, but he's still in there somewhere. And I wonder if, you know, when he's standing there, arms to the side, Sylvanas shoving this blade, he's like, all right, you do what you got to do. But I believe that no matter what happens, I'm still going to be able to get out of this. And you're going to be letting me into your castle now. Mm-hmm. I'm now going to see what you all are up to. So it could be that this is just a very dangerous game that Anduin is choosing to play, because he thinks that at the end of the day, the light will save him. And I don't know. That's kind of my guess, just based on what we've seen. But that's where we left it, was Anduin, or whoever he is now, and Sylvanas and the jailer standing on this sort of precipice, and these chains going out to this other land. We're like, what the hell is this place? Is that another level of Torghast? I don't know what this is. No, it's not another level of Torghast. We are going to another area inside of the maw, so we're going to be spending a lot more time in the maw. I'm sorry, Nav. I don't know what to tell you about that, but that's where 9.1 is taking us. Is we're going to be spending a lot of time in the maw, but and maybe this will make a difference for you. You tell me now. Sounds like we're going to be getting some creature comforts or some other changes that are quality of life changes, let's say.
Yes.
To make it more palatable. What'd you think about that?
There was a PC Gamer interview with Ian Hazakosis before this, where he said, well, the Tergu and also Eye of the Jailer, because the Jailer is going to be the end boss of the new raid, and the Tergu is also one of the bosses in the raid. Once those are defeated, we'll no longer have the death cap in Torghast, as well as Eye of the Jailer is going to be going away after that too. So
that'll be helpful.
That'll be some nice quality of life changes for the mall.
So we had the announcement that in 9.1 we're going to be going to this new place called Korthia, which is, I love how they split hairs with this. It's not a new area.
Yeah.
It's just new to us. So it's kind of how they explain it, is that it's always been there, but it's just another area in the mall that we're going to be going to, and that it's filled with all kinds of things that we've seen, some things that we haven't seen. Just on the initial pass of this, it feels very much like I'm trying to think in Mists of Pandaria, where we had the Throne of Thunder, that patch where we had that island that we were on, and there was all of the kind of activity going on there. That's very much what this feels like to me. Yeah. And I loved that patch. That is one of my all-time favorite patches in Warcraft, and I was really engaged in that content. And if it brings back that level of activity. I'd be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
They also showed us some of the new rewards. There's a pretty cool spectral horse. You'll also be able to ride a giant hand, which there's so many jokes here. I don't even know where to begin. But some pretty cool mounts to be had. But really, kind of tying into the conversation we just had about Anduin and all the crazy stuff going on there, we have a new raid, Sanctum of Domination. And yes, here are some of the bosses of the 10 that will be included there. The Terra Gru, which you mentioned. The Eye of the Jailer, which you mentioned. Fate of the Damned. I can't remember what that is. Kel'Thuzad, which, spoiler alert, if you... Kel'Thuzad is back, and I know that he's part of the, I think it's a Maldraxxus campaign. If you go through the Covenant out there with the Necrolords, I think he's part of that. But Kel'Thuzad is back, and then the final boss, which they have promised is going to be one of the all-time crazy-ass end bosses ever, is Sylvanas. And we have theorized now for years that she would end up being a raid boss of some kind, based on your Darth Vader before the Emperor guess. Without knowing anything at this stage in the game, but knowing that she is going to be an end boss finally in a raid, how do you think this gets... Just throw a dart at the board. How do you think this gets resolved with her actually being a raid boss and us apparently fighting her in potentially different times or different places or different forms, like all throughout their various phases? Like, it's going to be, by all accounts early on, a truly crazy experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And one, I mean, it's not going to be Sylvanas' last thing, because
you don't think we kill her?
No, I don't think we kill her, because one, just like there always has to be a Lich King, there's always got to be a jailer. I think Sylvanas will take that, that role up as, I'll punish myself and just be here. I've always been dead, blah, blah, blah. I like the environment. I'm pretty cold as it is. And it's, she and, what's his face can live out eternity as being jailer. And
where has Nathanos been? Good question.
Yeah. So I don't know, but, and yes, Nathanos and Tyrande, we got to. I don't know where Tyrande is either. So, but I don't think we kill Sylvanas. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you'd have a meltdown of about half the Warcraft population. They don't want that to happen. They don't want to have unsubs, because I could totally see people getting so upset that they would unsub from the game if we had killed Sylvanas.
Oh yeah. Well, and as I've continued to think about this, because the redemption arc, it just dangles out there so clearly, among many others, as you've talked about. They could bring back, God only knows how many people, be like, redemption arc. We're just throwing this shit out like nothing. With Sylvanas, there has to be a price to pay, right? There's no way, after everything that's happened with Teldrassil and everything else, that live and let live, right? Like, that's not, that can't, that would be very unsatisfying. I'm not saying it can't happen, but that would be very unsatisfying. So what you're saying about ultimately, let's say at the end of the expansion, she becomes the new jailer, would that be satisfying, where it's like, okay, I know I did some really heinous things, and now this is how I'm going to deal with it? I would be okay with that. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that. I thought quickly, this moment left my brain almost as soon as it came in, was, well, what if she was installed as the new Lich Queen to take it? No, I don't want to do that, because then the threat will always remain of, some shit going crazy. I think that cycle has to end. There has to be a Lich King thing. That has to be over. Like, I just don't see how you could constantly have that threat hanging out there, knowing what we know now about this gear and these weapons and where they come from and what they mean, and we still don't even know the extent of that. We're just seeing through Shalomorn, comparing it to Frostmourne, and sort of, and seeing those characteristics of soul stealing, essentially, and the other powers that it has, none of it's good. You can't have any of that. Like, it can't.
Yeah.
So is that an appropriate ending for her? Perhaps. It does seem like, could she then help us in some capacity, defeat the jailer, save Anduin? I could very well see that. And honestly, it would make sense, where she got into this plan, somehow got contacted by the jailer, right? They got into touch, whether it was the time when she threw herself off an ice crown and she was wandering out in the ether and figured out who this was and made a deal, and the Valkyr showed up and that whole gig. Over time, it morphed into this other giant plan. But maybe to comment you referenced earlier with Dan User, maybe she didn't really understand what she was getting into, because quite frankly, a lot of people don't realize what they're getting into when they start making deals with other people, and especially people with nefarious purposes and goals. And perhaps there is that part of the Ranger General still in there that's nagging and saying, look what I did to this kid. He's just a kid. Now I taunt him and I tell him to muzzle his dog, and I talk shit. Yeah, I've tried to kill him maybe a couple times. But it does seem like there's that part in her that goes, damn, look what I did. Like,
yeah.
Maybe because, and this I think is true many times in life, it's a lot easier to assault something when it doesn't have a face. But when you see something up close and personal, and you see what you've done, that really can have an impact. And when you're bombing Teldrassil from a distance, maybe in a way that's easier than turning one guy and then having to see him face to face and going, oh shit, look what I did. Maybe this wasn't the best idea. So,
I mean, what else is going to happen? I mean, honestly, I don't see how anybody would not be okay with her becoming the jailer, or just, retiring in Shadowlands, because what's the alternative? Were we going to defeat her on Azeroth, and then once she dies, she's just going to end up in the same spot anyway, because her soul's going to be,
well,
if you kill,
we could kill her, and then she just becomes like a puppet of the jailer. Like she's just tormented, because we're hearing about how we're going to be seeing through patch 9.1 some other places where we're going to run into more people.
Yeah.
And people that are being, held for torture purposes or whatever other gruesome fate, they've been deemed to suffer. That could be her future. And maybe that could happen. I don't know. But Sanctum of Domination, that will be the next raid. And they're hyping it up. Yeah? This is going to be one that Warcraft players are not going to soon forget, that there's going to be huge lore implications. Like it's going to be a big deal. So my guess is that's probably summertime. We'll see that. They also talked about Torghast updates. There's going to be new floors and new enemies, and they're dreaming up more anima powers, which is great. There's also going to be another mega dungeon, like there was for Mechagon. I only played through that thing a couple of times. It doesn't get me, but I understand why people really like it. 8 dungeons on this one, mythic only. It's got a lot of it's the brokers, right? And then I'm putting this out to anyone that's listening to this show. Can you tell me what the deal is with the infinite pirate dragons? Because people were so excited to see that, and I'm like, I mean, it's a funny idea, but is there something behind that I totally just missed somewhere? Because again, maybe I'm showing my age. I missed the joke. But interesting to see not just the dungeon, but how much work is going into these brokers.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more of a future there for them, or maybe not. Am I reading too much into this, or do you think that that's a hook for something we might be seeing more of in the future?
No, absolutely. I mean, I was looking at that too, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I asked around, they're just like, well, it's this and it's this. That's what's great about it. I'm like, no, there's something else going on here. Like, yeah, I didn't get it either. Just putting it out there. So
with the pirate
I
dragon.
didn't understand it. Yeah, I didn't understand that one and even Jeremy Fees was like, well, if you don't get it, it's like, I don't get it. Explain it to us. Like,
yeah,
I've been playing the game forever. I still don't get it. Like, so, anywho.
Yeah. What about the brokers? Do you think we're going to be seeing more of them? And the part of the reason why I bring this up is we had a listener write into the show. And the question that was asked of us was essentially that is it possible that the brokers are a nefarious entity here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like what's her face that we're gonna talk to? Well, the one broker we are dealing with right now in the mall. I think she's straight up working for the jailer. And I think I don't know if that's been confirmed or not yet, but I think,
very mysterious.
I think she's a jailer's minion,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had, we got an email from Hercules, who is a warrior EU side. And Hercules wrote in and posited that the real villains of the Shadowlands are the brokers and that possibly they arrived from another realm, that they had taken over, that maybe the jailer was just doing his job, but then all of a sudden it was the brokers came in and wreaked some havoc, and the jailer's just trying to clean up. That really is the brokers that are the problem. Do you think there might be any validity there? Do you think the brokers are more nefarious than we're giving them credit for?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
No. Well,
yeah. I mean, we're going to their land too, so we'll see. We'll soon see. So
maybe this broker mega dungeon will shine some light on that. But that was interesting. We also had some Covenant updates announced. There will be. Excuse me. I'm also burying the lead here.
About this.
What's that?
I said I'm excited about this.
Well, I know what you're excited about, and I buried the lead on this, and I apologize. We're going to be getting flying in 9.1.
Oh my God, that's right, flying. And it hasn't really. Okay, just putting it out there. It has not. And I said this back in BFA, and it was nice to get in BFA towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
It literally did not impact my gameplay or experience at all. It was a nice end experience. It was nice when the expansion was kind of over with already. I'm going to just say over with, but when an expansion sunsets and you get the flying and you're like, well, I've got my main and my main is really badass. I'm going to do everything. Well, I'm just going to level an alt, and then the alt can fly. Great. That's the icing on the cake. When my alt can fly, and I can I can go all over the place. Flying at this point has no bearing on my gameplay whatsoever. Like it's like I'm not. I'm sure there's other people out there that disagree with me and they love to fly. Fine. That's great. You're getting it. Yay. And I will get it too because I want it. But it's, yeah, good. I'm glad we're getting flying. And they already said that, you're only going to be able to fly in the zone. You're not going to be able to fly from the zone to Ouroboros.
Right.
You still have to take a flight path there.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And they explain trying to explain the gaming mechanics, just physically how it would work. It would take like 30 or 40 minutes to fly from zone to zone if you really wanted to do that. And so when you take the worm portal, and it gets all hyperspace looking, like that's actually just them trying to get you there quicker by another mechanic that they have to use.
Yeah.
So we did get confirmation. Flying is coming in 9.1. There's no rep grind or anything like that. There's no Pathfinder. You just have to essentially do your quests and work through your covenant. It's just, regular old stuff that you're probably going to be doing anyway, which is great. And then on top of that, speaking of the alts, once you've unlocked it, you've unlocked it. And then your alts at level 50 will have it. So don't have to worry about doing that more than once. And so in that vein, they also announced there will be some more covenant-specific mounts. And they showed a few of those. I thought the Venthyr one was pretty cool. It was like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
Crazy gargoyle looking one. Necrolords had a giant bug of some kind. Night Fae had a wolf serpent, which was kind of neat. And the Kyrians, we've got looks like some kind of a winged steward.
I'm in.
So let's do that. But really, I know what you're excited about is the Kyrian armor set that got announced that totally looks like, robe, toga, old school. Like, I know that's fitting a certain class fantasy for you. So what do you think about that announcement?
I'm going to take the shirt off. I'm going to take the pants off. I'm going to just have that nice big belt and the shoes, and I can finally do a Conan the Barbarian transmog.
There it is.
So there it is. That's what I'm excited about. I think, that looks really awesome.
Yeah, so each Covenant will be getting a new set of armor. I thought they all looked really great, totally on brand for what each one of them are. And to be quite honest, I like the Kyrian one more than the ones that we have already, just in general. And I know it's weird because the ones that they showed us are not like heavy, tanky plate shit that we're always loving as warriors. The aesthetic and the vibe on it looks so good. I really did appreciate it. Yeah. And I think they talked about this later in the Q&A. Speaking of armor and transmog, there is still other heritage armor on the way eventually. And I know for us on the human side, granted we have a lot of armor options, there's no human heritage armor.
No.
So always keeping a lookout for that kind of stuff. But this Kyrian, I'm digging it. I like it. And I hope other people like theirs as well. I thought they were all really neat.
I mean, I keep leveling tunes up, and I don't know what it is with the Kyrians. I was like, okay, well, I have this hunter, and it's gonna go Night Fae because she's a night elf, and I'm like, no, I'm making her Kyrian. And then I have got my monk who's a leather, and I'm like, okay, the monk's gonna be Night Fae, I guess. Nope, Kyrian. I just keep going to the Kyrian for everything. I like the aesthetic of it all, so I'm just gonna try to collect all the armor transmogs, on for each type,
For sure. So that kind of hits the main announces for 9.1. We had the sort of the push of the story for Chains of Domination. We'll be spending time in the mall. All of the Covenants are going to be united now after this attack on the Archon, and so that's kind of what helps push us back into the mall and give us the power to do what we need to do. Our mounts will be usable again in the mall, which is really nice. I think that
so don't bust your ass doing twisting corridors if you don't,
Yeah, I wasn't going to do it before. I'm definitely not going to do it now. There's going to be this new area, Korthia, tons of new rewards, this new raid, Sanctum of Domination. We'll finally take on Sylvanas. We'll see where that goes. This broker mega dungeon, get your mythic on, fight some infinite pirate dragons. I guess the infinite dragonflight is still out there. That thread, still waiting to be pulled. Waiting to be pulled. It's going to happen. And then other Covenant updates. So that's kind of the gist of what is coming. No real timetable. There's one thing they did not talk a lot about at all in any of these panels, on any of these games, was a timetable that was very tangible. They did, I think John Haidt in the WoW Q&A mentioned that 9.0.5 would be coming March. So we do know at least that is on the way, but beyond that, we have no idea anything about 9.1, when that specifically is coming, when to expect that, anything for Diablo or Overwatch or any of this stuff they announced. It's just, maybe Hearthstone and I missed it. I'll grant you that, but very, very generalized in that way. So heading over to the WoW Q&A, just going to scroll through a couple of questions here. Just off the top, were there any that you were excited to hear about or appreciated somebody asking, or I know at least for a few of these, we're tired of hearing?
They talked about the faction imbalance. And Ian said something at the start of it, and he was leading on to something, and then Scott Johnson said, let's just be straight. Is there any point in the game where you're going to allow Horde and Alliance players to play together?
Mm-hmm.
And Ian says, well, that's nothing set in stone, and, but it was kind of like it's similar to what I was hitting at here, is that they're looking at ways to make it so that what I got out of it, they're looking at ways to make it so that if you PvP and you play Horde and Alliance and you want to play with your friends, that you can do that. They'll come up with some technology, but the fact that you have the Horde and Alliance, that has to stay. Like, there always has to be the Horde versus Alliance, but they're looking at ways to make it so that you can play with your friends regardless of what faction that you play right now, which is good. So Ian said, basically, let's read between the lines. Ian said, yes, Horde and Alliance are going to get to play together. That was solidified. Take it to the forums and argue with everybody now about it. So you heard it on Unshackle Fury that Ian said this. And I'm just playing. Yeah, so there's some fun stuff coming out of that. So hopefully, that'll be a thing. I was trying to think of something else in the...
Well, just on that note real quick, I love how that's an impossible question for them to answer. Because
I know.
Clearly the answer is no. We're not doing that right now.
Right.
We recognize that people want to do it. We're looking into what might be possible. But the core of the game is Horde and Alliance. You can't strip out.
Yeah.
You can't strip out the factions. You can't. I'm gonna just flat out say it. You will never see a time when the Horde and Alliance go away. Not in World of Warcraft, because it's part of the DNA of the game. Now, letting people play together and finding ways to maybe allow friends to play together. Maybe, to your comments, maybe that's what they're looking at. But I saw a headline from somebody. Oh, Blizzard thinking about letting cross-faction raiding happen. And I'm like, of course they're thinking about it. They always think about it, but are they actually doing it? No. This is not. Don't expect it. Don't. It'll be patch 12.0 before we see that.
Yeah.
I'm saying it now, and I could very well be wrong. And you can come back to this and say, Berzerker, you eat shit. They're letting us do it. Okay, fine. But no, not happening. What else you got?
They were talking about, what was it? Sire Denathrius, how they like Sire Denathrius, and that's why he's still alive in Remornia after you defeat him. He's still around. Initially they didn't have plans for him, but they liked what the story had become. They loved the voice actor's performance of it, and they wanted to keep him alive. So that's why he's trapped at the end of the raid. So
he got the Poe Dameron treatment.
Yeah, he might, he might have allies that'll want to, come after him or something like that. But
yeah.
So we'll see. That Castle Denathrius is a fun raid. It's a good raid to start, and Denathrius was a really good villain. He's a straight up good villain. It's a fun fight. It's a very rewarding fight once you get it done. And it's yeah. I'm glad his story's not over and done with. So
yeah. They I love that comment about how essentially if somebody really takes on that role and makes it something special, they'll find a way to keep them around. And I'm glad that they pay attention to that stuff. And like saying Bwonsamdi is an example of that, where it's just going to be another Loa, and then dude came in and just killed it, and now it's this whole other thing. That it continues to inspire my confidence in them paying attention to stuff like this, where it's not just. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. The whole voice acting segment of Blizzard is its own whole other crazy wing that they are paying attention and they care about that stuff, and it is really nice to see. But yeah, I know we talked about this with Bro. Pretty sure we're gonna see Denathrius again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions jump out to you?
No, not off the top of my head. I'm trying to think if there were any funny ones that came out.
You know which one I really appreciated was what's going on with Bolvar, and where is his story going? Because I keep hammering away, and I'm probably gonna have to let this dream go. Is that I was picturing a Saurfang cinematic universe for Bolvar. We have not been getting those full CGI cinematics like I thought we were going to. So maybe that was never the plan. Maybe with COVID, it's changed things. I keep expecting one of these things to drop, and it's just not happening. Okay, fine. Maybe it happens. We'll find out. But Bolvar, they continue to indicate, let's say, that Bolvar has more to do, and that he's got this big badass hammer, and we gotta let Bolvar swing. Let him take that suck. Let him fight the jailer. I don't know. Maybe that's where we end up, and those two can just duke it out. I mean, that would be. God, could you imagine that? Just those two just fucking shit up. That would be fun. But they did indicate that he will be very prominent in 9.1. Yeah. Which I am glad to see, because as Scott Johnson mentioned, right now he's just hanging out at the table. He's not really doing much. He had a little bit of a setback when he tried to peer too far into the maw through the helm, and that was a problem. Yeah. They also confirmed for us, just on another lore note, that Teldrassil is pretty much gone. Like, somebody asked, hey, is it possible that could be reversed, what happened to Teldrassil? And they were pretty certain that they're like, yeah, it was destroyed. So if you do the little switch where you can go back and you can use it as a hub and you can see it back when it was alive, great. But it doesn't sound like they have any plans to bring that back. But the Tyrande Whisperwind element of this whole story still has yet to play out as well.
Right. Yeah, she's still out there for vengeance. Yep.
I don't know, man. Maybe she comes in at the end of this Sylvanas thing. Maybe she wipes her out. Maybe that's, we're about to say, hey, we'll make peace if you'll help us take down the jailer. And she's like, nah, fuck that. And just, wow. Goes Night Warrior on her ass. And they were like, no, we were so close. And
Tyrande from the top rope.
Oh my God. Tyrande with the elbow from the top turnbuckle. Right. That would, woo. I could see that. That would be fantastic. They did mention that they are going to be looking at tuning anima drops for raids and dungeons. They're also looking at costs of anima for certain things, and I appreciate that as somebody who still having to grind out that anima. That still kind of hard to come by. They also confirmed, as we mentioned earlier, the Archon is not dead. Anduin did not kill the Archon. That you see her hand move. That's what they said, is right at the end, you do see her hand move, and it is an indication that she's still around. And then I don't know, let's take a quick look. They had a question about bringing back 10-man content, and they made the point, well, technically all of it is 10-man content, just bringing
right people. Yeah,
which I was like, that's right. Yep, there you go. So there were a few other questions, but I think Scott Johnson did a fine job. Clearly, old hand at this. They can turn this over, no problem. Don't have to worry about anybody going sideways. But as I said last time, I miss the human element, man. I miss the random, because I also miss yelling about it and just be going, nobody wants to hear about your guild on such and such a server, and shout out to who gives a shit. Like, I love having that part of it too, because that is inevitably part of every Q&A. Hey, and I think one guy, and I have to go back and look at this, I think one guy got through and his name was Dis Dick. And they tried to say the name in some way that was clearly something else, and I'm like, oh, they snuck that one through. But I miss that. People getting up there and saying whatever, red shirt guy saying whatever, Ro getting up there, maybe being the first person to ask a question. It's just, I'm thankful for what we got, but yeah, man, the Q&A is where it's always at. I always look forward to it because you just never know what you're going to get, and this was a little too sterile, let's say.
Yeah,
But appreciate getting some stuff filled in there, and again, as you mentioned with some of the other articles that are out there, there's plenty of interviews outside of the normal Blizzard channels that have gone on. I know Wowhead had an interview, Polygon had an interview, Starting Zone had an interview for another podcast. There's other stuff out there, so people that are listening to this show, I'm sure you are checking out other things, so you'll see other information out there. We don't really talk a lot about Classic on this show, but we did get the announcement of the Burning Crusade Classic. And just to briefly kind of cover some of the things that they talked about there, they are going to have a 5-phase release, which is similar to what happened back then, with first phase being Karazhan, Gruul's Lair, Magtheridon's Lair. Second phase being Serpent Shrine Cavern, Tempest Keep, and Arena Season 1. Phase 3, Mount Hyjal, Black Temple, and Arena Season 2. Phase 4, if you remember, it was pretty brief. Zulaman, a little 10-man deal there. You got a bear mount if you managed to get it under time, that's right. I think. And Arena Season 3. And lastly, Sunwell, which was my probably top 3 favorite patches of all time. Isle of Keldanos, going up there, doing dailies, and I don't know why that one just felt so good, but damn, it felt good. I like that one. That was a good one, getting that wrap up. And they did talk about the choice that once that goes live, you'll have the choice of essentially cloning a character over and being able to take that character you played on Classic, World of Warcraft Classic, going over to Burning Crusade Classic. I think that's great. No release date. Maybe 2021. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. But it'll be a nice addition. It'll be a nice addition. I'm sure we'll take a little toe in there, as we talked about. They did have the Voices of the Afterlife panel for the World of Warcraft voice actor folks. They had Max Middleman, who voices Erlon, Ray Chase, who voices Sire Denathrius, Deborah Wilson, who voices Draka, Alex I'm going to screw this name up, Desert.
Sure.
Sorry, man, if I messed that up. It's a terrible name. Bwansamdi's guy. Josh Keaton as Anduin, and Steve Denuser, lead narrative designer for World of Warcraft, along with our favorite girl, Andrea Troyes. Troyes? And she is the... What is she? She's like the...
She's the senior casting and voice director.
That's it.
For Blizzard.
That's it. And she is a very special person. And this panel, let me just say, it's a unique panel with a unique group of people, and you're either going to vibe with what's going on or you are not. And right. I've seen a lot of people that get upset, and it's a little odd at first to see people talking this much about their feelings and all of this. I mean, it feels like a big therapy session in a way. It is different. But I find it to be one of the best kinds of panels that they have, because it really shows you the level of dedication that they have about getting this stuff right, so when you play it, you feel something.
Right, yeah.
When you come across Draka, maybe you don't realize it at first. Deborah Wilson, God bless her, talks about, the pain and the anguish and the torture and the lives that this character has lived, and when you come across her, that you feel that just through the voice acting, because that's the only chance you really get, because you can't emote the same way in a game, so it's just what you feel through the voice acting. And so each one of them kind of talked about, themselves and, recording for their characters, the characters that they are known for in this expansion. They played a little game where some characters were voiced by other actors on the panel, and that was kind of funny to hear people try it. The guy doing Erlon's voice, Max Middleman, trying to do a Bwansamdi impersonation was hysterical, because it was not even close. And no offense to that dude, not a lot of people pull that off. But it's... Remember last year? No, not last year. The year before. The last BlizzCon, I'll just say it that way, when we had one of the best panels of BlizzCon any BlizzCon has ever had, with this voice actor panel, and you had that whole scene play out from Sarfang and Garrosh, that interaction in Outland, and they played that. They did a live play of that, and seeing those actors embody those characters live, it was incredible. and it's one of the few panels I've ever watched more than once, just to see it and feel that again. So for folks that may not have watched that the first time, highly recommend it. If you don't vibe with it, I get it. It's not for everyone. Nav, did you get a chance? I can't remember. Did you get a chance to check that one out, or you got to go back?
I got to go back. I did not get a chance to look at it.
Okay.
It was, yeah. I'm definitely gonna do that.
It's worth it. It's worth it just. It's worth it just to see the end.
Yeah.
Just to see the end. So that one's always fun. One panel that I did not yet get to because we're running short on time is there was a panel with Taryn Gregory and Christy Golden and Sean Copeland talking about Thrall's history, the evolution of that character, all the stuff that happened with Garrosh. There seems to be some indication that perhaps, and this is a question that's being asked basically since this expansion came up, are Thrall and Draka going to have some kind of reunion? Don't know. They're both out there, and what is that going to look like? And they've kind of hinted that maybe it will. I don't know why it wouldn't. But I haven't had a chance to check that out yet. Did you get a chance to check that one? That one out?
No. I caught the backlash on Twitter where everybody's like, just let Jaina and Thrall kiss already. It's like, oh no.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I think Thrall is spoken for. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm pretty sure he's wrapped up in Agrilove, but
yeah,
maybe that's just me. Something I know that you and I both definitely did watch was the Community Showcase Cosplay and Talent Show.
Oh, so good. Yep,
Holy
so good.
Shit.
Yeah, that was so good. Yeah.
So, unlike previous BlizzCons where, we have like a parade of people and there's various categories, folks had sent in submissions, and so what they did was they announced who the finalists and then the winners were for various categories of cosplay and this talent show. So like one category was weapons and armor cosplay, and the winner was this barbarian. This chick did this awesome barbarian cosplay where I think that they RP'd it as someone who lost a battle to a Diablo boss.
Yeah.
And so like the arms all shredded up and the gear's all bloody, and that looked amazing. Along with the other ones, there was a great King Lane, a guy from Croatia did. Big mark for that. Were there any others on that one? They all were amazing, but did you have any favorites out of that weapons and armor group?
Actually, believe it or not, the Paladin Tier 3 armor was something else. That was insane how the whole thing lit up. I love all that cosplay stuff. I think everybody did a fantastic job. They mixed music. They mixed the music in between the sets, and there was a group. And you have to forgive me, I don't remember the name, but it's the only group that did this. They did a Terran's StarCraft mix, and it sounded really, really good. I love that.
Yeah.
And then there was the Mists of Pandaria. I forget what it was called, but anything Mists. The music is just amazing. So somebody actually played that instrument. I'm not gonna guess what it was. I don't know what the instrument's name is, but yeah. So
like an Eru or something.
I think yes. I think you're right with that. Yes, exactly.
Again, very bad with names and
very bad with names. But when you see it, you're gonna be like, wow. And then the one thing that stood out the most, I genuinely I cracked up when I saw it, was the dog. The dog cracked me up.
The Grey Maid Negotiations digital storytelling, 3rd place.
That had me. And I showed Lise, and I was like, Lise, you gotta. I copied it right to that timestamp. She's like, what? Oh, these people are doing a whole thing. I'm like, yeah, just keep watching. Just keep watching. And then the dog showed up, but I was just like, this is great. awesome.
It was phenomenal. That one was really funny. The digital short ones that they had were great. You had that one. There was one where somebody made a Plague of Azeroth song, and it was a corollary of coronavirus to Plague on Azeroth, and you're either 6 feet apart or 6 feet under, that kind of thing. Like I really appreciated the message there, and I think they should blare that in every parking lot from here to Kingdom Come to get that word out. And then the winner was one called Remote Watch, where it was a bunch of Overwatch people on basically on a Zoom call. And it was the same shit that we all deal with people not muting their mics and people dropping out and people not knowing what to do and somebody hacking in. It was great. Those are great. But above all else, the Best in Show Cosplay Award winner was this Bolvar cosplay from Hardigan Cosplay in Belgium.
Yeah.
That thing was incredible. It was a full body suit and head, and the weapon was spot on, the hammer, and it was smoking, and the colors were changing, and proportionally it was correct. That was amazing cosplay. The people just, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how. 3D printing, I guess, has helped a lot, but that was
straight up like Dave Bautista. I was like, what the hell? It
looks just like Batista. I'm like, that's why I tweeted it out, and I'm like, let the campaign begin for Bautista for Bolvar, because it looks very much. I don't know if they did that intentionally or not, but well done, very well done. You think back, go back like 10 years, and the cosplay that we saw back then. Not to denigrate anyone's skills, because you can only do what you can with what is available at the time,
right?
In any respect. You look at how far cosplay has come in the last decade. It's unbelievable what people.
It really is. Yeah.
There are, as I'm just kind of scrolling through here on some of the options. Even the pet cosplay is pretty good. And they had a whole pet cosplay.
Yeah.
But the ability for people to truly create, this armor, whether it's armor that is, pretty heavy, plate looking stuff, or whether it's out of leather, or whether it's out of the winner for the modern creation was this Queen Neptulon the Tidehunter, and the whole bottom was spinning around, and there's mechanics involved, and then there was a Mercy concept, and the guy's wings went out and lit up, and it really is impressive. And I'm glad that they were able to find a way to work that in to BlizzCon this year, because those were great. So if you didn't get a chance to check those out, please watch that segment. They were great. And as Nav said, if for no other reason than just to hear the updated metal remix of the old school StarCraft Terran themes.
Oh, yeah.
That was really, really, really great. So that kind of wraps up the World of Warcraft aspect of BlizzCon. It was not nearly as long or full as a regular BlizzCon for reasons that are beyond obvious. But I thought they did a pretty good job of getting us what they needed to get us when they needed to get it to us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we know, what 9.1 is about. We can spend the next however many months theorizing what's going on and why and what's happening and all that stuff. But I'm really pleased with what we got. And I appreciate that they were able to put this together. And on top of all of that, as much as I loved what we got for Warcraft, I actually spent most of the time on Sunday watching the Critical Role Diablo campaign with my son. Now, my son has heard about me playing D&D games. He's certainly heard about Diablo being a Blizzard house. But he's never actually seen any of this stuff because he's a little too young. He's too young to play Diablo, and not quite into a D&D game age yet, although he's pretty close. So this was his first time to see anything like this, and he was absolutely enamored with what was going on. And granted, having the Critical Role group doing it and Matthew Mercer leading that crew and everything else, it's you're not going to get anything better, which probably helps. But from the moment that kicked off, and they're telling the story and bringing you into this environment, and then all the voice actors are telling you about their characters and getting you all, he was bought in 100%. And as a nerd dad, I really appreciated it because it got him hooked on like several different geeky things all at once.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a blast. My wife comes down at one point. She goes, "Are you guys still watching this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, panel's like 2+ hours." She's like, "Isn't there other stuff going on?" I said, "Yeah, I'll watch it later." So, but that was great, and I really can't thank whoever is responsible for that enough. You know, the Critical Role people for doing it. You know, whoever at Blizzard had the bright idea to put that together. It was great. It was a great introduction to a lot of things for a lot of folks, and you know, good for Diablo. You know, they were kind of dead in the water there for a bit. Now they're rolling back to life, and here they go. So that kind of takes us through BlizzConline 2021 and some of the major hits. Granted, there's lots of little nuggets out there and more information that are coming in drips and drabs through other interviews. So I encourage folks to take a look out there and see what else they can find. But Nav, I still feel good about this expansion. You know, I still feel good about the direction that we're headed in, and nothing I saw really made me too worried. I'm a little worried about our boy, but I think in the end, Anduin is going to be okay. But what are your closing thoughts for BlizzConline 2021?
I think Blizzard did a good job with what they had and, you know, what they tried to accomplish for something where people couldn't be there in person, and I enjoyed it. I'm glad that it was free. I'm glad it was open for everybody. They can just go out there and, you know, view it in post, and looking forward to all the, you know, I always look forward to everything they put out. So, I mean, I'm still having fun with the game, you know, so.
Yeah.
Diablo 2 even. I'm really looking forward to Diablo 2. I mean, Diablo, sure, 4 is going to be there, but I'm really looking forward to that Diablo 2 remake coming out. So,
yeah, for sure. By bringing back like the arcade stuff and the classic stuff and some of this older stuff, they wouldn't be wasting, and I don't mean wasting as in like it's just all garbage. They wouldn't be spending time on stuff like that if they didn't have plenty of other stuff in the queue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yeah. I feel like if that's the breadth of their workload right now, we've got a lot of good stuff in store.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think it's still looking bright. You know, depending on timelines, I think that based on what we've seen, a lot of this stuff is going to come out in 2022. For some of the things, you know, non-Warcraft related. I think 2022 is still going to be a monster year. But for us this year, you know, we'll get 9.0.5. Sounds like next month. Probably get 9.1, you know, May-ish. I'm going to say May, somewhere in there. And then, God only knows, you know, with Sylvanas hanging out there, with Anduin being, you know, whatever, turned to the dark side or whatever's going on there, and the family saber corrupted, you know, there's a lot of fun threads out there. And again, I think it's a good time to be a Warcraft player. So
yeah.
So with that, I think that'll do it for this episode and our wrap up of BlizzConline 2021. Other than this fine program, where can the good people find you on the internet, Navox?
You can find me in our Discord channel, but you could also find me over on Twitter. I am at NAV_OX.
And yes, please, if you have not joined our Discord, you know, it's not constant chatter 24/7, but I'd like to think we have some pretty good conversation in there. So if you're interested in joining, we do have that link in our Twitter bio. So please feel free to check it out there. As for me, you can always find me at Berzerker Rage on Twitter, and this show at Unshackled_Fury. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise by going to unshackledfury.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Spotify, and Pandora. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.